The forgotten frequency. The emergency beacon had been silent for 300 years. Commander Zarek of the Velcaran Dominion stood before the holographic display, his 4 eyes narrowing as the ancient human distress signal pulsed across the star chart. The frequency was primitive, almost laughable by current galactic standards, yet it carried something that made his scales ripple with unease. "Impossible," muttered his science officer, Telm, her crystalline fingers dancing across the console. That sector was sterilized during the human extinction event. Nothing could have survived the quantum collapse. Zarek didn't respond immediately. He'd been a young warrior when humanity disappeared from the galaxy, when their worlds went dark in a single devastating moment that the Galactic Council had celebrated as the end of the universe's most dangerous species. Humans had been deemed too unpredictable, too aggressive, too stubbornly creative for the orderly galaxy the elder races had cultivated for millennia. When their sons began dying simultaneously, when their colonies went silent one by one, the Council had watched with satisfaction. "Good riddance to chaos," they'd said. But now, 3 centuries later, this signal emerged from the dead zone like a ghost refusing to stay buried. "Assemble a reconnaissance team," Zarek ordered, his mandibles clicking with decision. "Small force. 6 ships. We investigate quietly." Telm's bioluminescent patterns flickered with concern. "Commander, the Council specifically forbids any expedition into human space." "The quarantine protocols." "The quarantine protocols assume humans are extinct," Zarek interrupted. "If they're not, the Council needs to know. And if this is some kind of automated system still running after all these years, we shut it down before it attracts attention from other parties less interested in following Council regulations." The unspoken truth hung between them. Pirates. Scavengers. Worse. Human technology, even ancient human technology, commanded extraordinary prices on the black market. The species might be gone, but their legendary innovations in weapons, engines, and AI had never been replicated. A functioning human station could contain treasures worth more than entire planetary economies. 6 days later, Zarek's task force dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates. What they found made his primary heart skip a beat. The station was massive, easily 3 times larger than a standard Velcaran military outpost. It hung in the void like a metal flower, its petals spreading outward in impossible geometric patterns that hurt to look at too long. Human architecture had always defied conventional physics, bending space in ways that made other species uncomfortable. This structure was no exception. But it wasn't abandoned. Lights glowed in viewports. Energy signatures pulsed through the hull. And most disturbing of all, the beacon wasn't a distress call at all. As Telm ran the signal through modern translation matrices, her face went pale. "Commander, it's not asking for help. It's a warning. It says, quarantine breach imminent. Primary containment failing. Recommend immediate evacuation of all systems within 50 light-years. Humanity takes no responsibility for consequences of unauthorized approach." Zarek felt ice flood his veins. "How long has it been broadcasting?" "Approximately 72 hours. Commander, if this warning is legitimate, if there's something on that station that humans felt necessary to contain." The communication console erupted with light. An incoming transmission, audio only, crackling with interference but unmistakably directed at them. "Velcaran vessels, this is Station Keeper 7 of the Prometheus Archive. Your presence has been noted and logged. You are in violation of Treaty Sigma protocols established in 2247. You have 2 options. Turn back immediately, or dock at Bay 12 where you will surrender all weapons and submit to biological screening. You have 10 minutes to decide. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate defensive measures. Any attempt to leave without docking will result in the immediate release of Specimen Omega into your ship's life support systems. Choose wisely." The voice was human. Definitely human. Female, calm, with the flat efficiency of someone who delivered this speech many times before. But humans were extinct. Dead. Gone. Zarek's tactical officer, a young Hescaran named Vorl, activated the weapons array. Commander, we can take this station. Our firepower. Belay that order, Zarek snapped. He'd studied human military history. He knew what happened to species who underestimated them. Open a channel. Static filled the bridge before his words transmitted. Station Keeper 7, this is Commander Zarek. We received what appeared to be a distress signal. We came to investigate. We mean no harm. The response came instantly. Distress signal. Interesting interpretation of a quarantine warning. Genetic markers indicate you're Velcaran. I have records showing Velcaran vote patterns during the council session that authorized the extinction protocol. You voted yes, Commander. Enthusiastically, from what the archives indicate. And now you're here, in our space, uninvited. Forgive me if I'm skeptical about your peaceful intentions. Blood pounded in Zarek's ears. This human knew. She had records. She'd survived. How many more? How long had they been out here, hidden in the dead zones, watching the galaxy that had tried to murder them? We were told humanity had perished, he said carefully. The quantum collapses, the dying stars. Is that what the council called it? The human's laugh was bitter. Creative terminology for attempted genocide. But you're partially correct. Most of us did die. 97%, to be precise. The council's weapon was quite effective. Just not perfect. And humans have this annoying habit of surviving things that should kill us. It's what made you all so nervous in the first place. Telm whispered urgently. Commander, I'm detecting multiple weapons systems activating. Directed energy platforms. Kinetic accelerators. And something else, something I don't recognize. The power readings are off the scales, the human interrupted, clearly monitoring their communications. Yes, they are. That's what 300 years of motivated research and development looks like when you're the only species in the galaxy who knows you're not extinct and wants to keep it that way. So, Commander. Bay 12. Screening. Surrender. 10 minutes. Now 9 minutes 40 seconds. Time's wasting. Zarek looked at his crew. Young faces. Trained warriors who'd never fought humans, never seen what they were capable of when cornered. He thought about the council, fat and comfortable in their assumption of human extinction. He thought about what would happen if word got out that humans had survived, that they'd been building in secret, growing stronger in the darkness. He thought about Specimen Omega, whatever that was, and the casual way the human had threatened to release it into their ships. Stand down all weapons, he ordered. Set course for Bay 12. And someone start a complete medical scan of every crew member. If we're going aboard that station, I want to know exactly what we're bringing back. As his ships moved toward the station, Zarek noticed something that made his blood run cold. In the distance, barely visible against the cosmic background, other structures dotted the void. Dozens of them. Hundreds maybe. All human. All active. Humanity hadn't died. They'd just learned to hide. And now, he was about to find out what they'd been doing in the dark. The Keeper's truth. Bay 12 opened like a steel mouth, swallowing Zarek's shuttle whole. The docking process was smooth, almost too smooth, guided by automated systems that predated most modern galactic technology yet operated with flawless precision. As the airlock cycled and atmospheric pressure equalized, Zarek felt every muscle in his body tense. His security team flanked him, their weapons surrendered as ordered but their combat training evident in every movement. The inner door hissed open, revealing a corridor that defied 3 centuries of isolation. Clean white walls glowed with soft light. Air circulation hummed steadily. The floor showed no sign of wear or decay. Everything looked maintained, almost new, as if the station had been built yesterday rather than before the extinction event. Impressive, isn't it? The voice came from speakers embedded in the ceiling. Station Keeper 7, still unseen. You're probably wondering how we've kept everything running. The answer is simple. We never stopped. While your council celebrated our death, we were out here, working. Building. Surviving. Welcome to the Prometheus Archive, Commander. Try not to touch anything. Some of our exhibits bite. Zarek's throat went dry. Exhibits? You'll see. Follow the blue lights. They'll guide you to Observation Room 3. Come alone, Commander. Your security team can wait in the reception area. There's fresh water and ration bars. I promise they're not poisoned. Probably. Vorl, his tactical officer, grabbed Zarek's arm. Sir, this is a trap. We should follow instructions, Zarek said firmly, gently removing Vorl's grip. If they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. Whatever this human wants, it requires us alive. For now. The walk through the station felt like traveling through a museum dedicated to humanity's achievements. Display cases lined the corridors, each containing artifacts that made Zarek's scientific mind real. A functioning quantum processor the size of his smallest claw. A weapon that bent gravitational fields. Medical equipment that could apparently regenerate damaged tissue at the cellular level. Every item represented technology the galaxy had lost when humans disappeared. No, not lost. Stolen. Hidden. Kept secret. The blue lights led him to a door marked with the number 3. It slid open automatically, revealing a circular room with a large viewport dominating one wall. Beyond the transparent barrier lay something that made Zarek's blood freeze in his veins. It was massive, easily 50 meters long, floating in a containment field that crackled with barely controlled energy. At first glance, it looked organic, almost like a living creature, but closer inspection revealed the truth. It was a hybrid, part biological tissue, part mechanical components, pulsing with a sickly green luminescence. Tentacles writhed from its central mass, each tipped with what appeared to be sensory organs or perhaps weapons. The thing's surface rippled constantly, as if something beneath the skin was trying to escape. Beautiful, isn't it? A human woman stepped from the shadows at the room's edge. She was tall, easily 6 feet, with dark skin and silver hair pulled back in a practical bun. Her eyes held the weariness of centuries but also a sharpness that missed nothing. She wore a simple gray uniform with the designation SK-7 emblazoned on the chest. We call it the Amalgam. One of approximately 12,000 similar specimens we've catalogued over the past 300 years. Zarek couldn't look away from the creature. What is it? The future, Commander. Or rather, the future the Council was building before we interrupted their plans. Station Keeper 7 moved to stand beside him, her reflection ghostly in the viewport. Tell me, what did they teach you about the human extinction event? What official story did they feed your generation? That humanity's expansion threatened galactic stability, Zarek recited, the words feeling hollow now. That your species' aggressive nature and rapid reproduction would inevitably lead to conflict. That the quantum collapses were a natural phenomenon, a cosmic coincidence that solved a growing problem. The human's laugh was cold. Natural phenomenon. Yes, that's what they would call carefully engineered stellar destabilization weapons deployed simultaneously across 47 star systems. Very natural. She turned to face him fully, and Zarek saw the anger burning behind her controlled expression. The truth, Commander, is that the Council didn't fear human aggression. They feared human innovation. Do you know what we discovered 2 years before the extinction event? We cracked dimensional folding. Real, functional, accessible portals to parallel universes. Infinite resources. Infinite space. The end of scarcity-based economics that kept the elder races in power. Zarek felt the ground shift beneath his feet. That's impossible. Dimensional theory requires Requires thinking differently, the human interrupted. Requires asking questions that make people uncomfortable. Requires being willing to break rules that were made to keep species like yours comfortable and species like mine contained. The council couldn't allow it. So they killed us. 97% dead, as I mentioned. 42 billion people erased from existence because we threatened to change a status quo that had existed for 10,000 years. She gestured toward the creature floating beyond the viewport. But here's what they didn't expect. In their desperation to eliminate us, they destabilized something else. The dimensional barriers. The walls between universes. And things started bleeding through. Things like the amalgam. Things that don't belong in our reality but found a way in through the cracks the Council's weapons created. Zarek stared at the writhing mass. How many? 12,000 catalogued and contained. Approximately 8 million estimated still loose in the dead zones. Maybe more. They reproduce quickly, you see. They consume matter, convert it, spread. In 200 years, maybe 3, they'll breach the quarantine zones. They'll reach populated systems. And when they do, Commander, they won't discriminate between humans and Velcarans. They'll consume everything. The weight of her words crashed over him like a physical force. The Council knows. Oh, they know. We've sent warnings. Data packages. Detailed reports. All ignored. Because acknowledging the problem means acknowledging what caused it. Means admitting they committed genocide. Means facing war crimes tribunals and the collapse of their carefully maintained authority structure. Station Keeper 7's voice hardened. So instead, they maintain the quarantine. Keep everyone away from human space. Let us deal with the consequences of their actions while they pretend the problem doesn't exist. Zarek's mind raced through implications. How many humans survived? On this station? 47. Across all remaining facilities? Maybe 3,000. We don't maintain constant contact. Too risky. But we share research, coordinate containment efforts, try to find a solution before the amalgams breach the barriers. She paused. We're losing, Commander. Every year, they grow stronger. Every year, the containment fields require more power. Every year, we come closer to the day when we can't hold them back anymore. Then why am I here? Zarek asked. Why show me this? Why not just send us away? The price of truth. The journey back to Velcaran space took 6 days. 6 days during which Zarek barely slept, the data crystal hidden in a shielded compartment beneath his quarters deck plating. 6 days of reviewing the evidence Station Keeper 7 had provided, each file more damning than the last. Intercepted Council communications discussing the human problem. Weapons specifications for the stellar destabilization devices. Before and after dimensional readings showing the catastrophic damage to universal barriers. Video footage of amalgams consuming entire research outposts in minutes. And the death toll. 42 billion humans, gone in coordinated strikes across a single 72-hour period. The largest deliberate extinction event in recorded galactic history, hidden under layers of sanitized reports and falsified scientific data. Vorl found him on the observation deck on the 5th night, staring at the stars sliding past. The young Hescaran's crystalline exoskeleton refracted the starlight into rainbow patterns across the walls. Commander, the crew is asking questions. You've been different since we left the station. What did that human tell you? Zarek considered his tactical officer. Vorl was young, barely 30 cycles, born 2 generations after the human extinction event. He'd grown up with the Council's version of history, accepted their authority without question. But he was also intelligent, observant, and loyal. If Zarek was going to survive what came next, he needed allies. What do you know about dimensional physics? Zarek asked instead of answering directly. Vorl's optical sensors flickered with confusion. Only what they taught in the academy. Theoretical framework, mostly. No practical applications. Why? Because humans discovered practical applications. 2 years before the council killed them. Zarek pulled out the crystal, watching it catch the light. And in killing them, the council broke something that's been slowly destroying the galaxy ever since. He spent the next hour explaining everything. The amalgams. The dimensional breaches. The evidence of genocide. Vorl listened in silence, his usual confident posture gradually deflating as the implications became clear. If this is true, Vorl said finally, his voice barely a whisper, then everything we were taught is a lie. Yes. Zarek pocketed the crystal. The question is, what do we do about it? Vorl was quiet for a long moment. Then his optical sensors brightened with determination. We do what Station Keeper 7 asked. We expose the truth. But Commander, if we're going against the Council directly, we'll need more than just evidence. We'll need protection. I know. Zarek had been thinking about that constantly. That's why our first stop isn't the reformist faction. It's Admiral Keseth. Vorl's entire body went rigid. The Iron Admiral. Commander, she's the most decorated military officer in Velcaran history. She's loyal to the Council above all else. Taking this to her is suicide. Keseth is loyal to Velcara, Zarek corrected. There's a difference. And if there's one thing I learned from studying human military history, it's that the most dangerous warriors are the ones who follow their conscience instead of their orders. Keseth has that reputation. She's bucked Council directives before when she believed they threatened Velcaran interests. She was nearly court-martialed for those decisions. Nearly. But not actually. Because she was right, and even the Council couldn't deny it. Zarek turned from the viewport. If we can convince her that the amalgams represent an existential threat, she'll have the authority to mobilize fleet resources. And once the military knows, the Council can't contain the information anymore. Vorl's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with nervous energy. And if she doesn't believe us? If she arrests us for treason? Then we die knowing we tried. Which is more than 42 billion humans got. They arrived at Velcaran Prime 3 days ahead of schedule, using emergency protocols to bypass normal traffic control. Zarek sent an encrypted message to Admiral Keseth's personal channel, requesting an immediate private meeting on matters of galactic security. The response came within the hour. Granted. My private residence. Come alone. Come armed. If this is a waste of my time, Commander, I'll shoot you myself. Admiral Keseth's residence occupied the top 3 floors of a tower overlooking the capital's central plaza. The security was military-grade but subtle, automated systems that could identify and eliminate threats before organic guards could blink. Zarek was scanned 17 times before he reached the elevator to her personal level. She met him at the door herself. Admiral Keseth was ancient by Velcaran standards, over 200 cycles, her scales dulled to pale gray with age but her eyes still sharp as fusion blades. She'd commanded fleets when Zarek was still in academy training, had fought in wars most people only read about in history files. Commander Zarek. Her voice carried the rasp of age and authority. You look like someone who's seen a ghost. Sit. Drink. Then explain why you violated Council quarantine protocols and why I shouldn't have you arrested. Zarek sat in the offered chair, accepted the glass of Velcaran whiskey, and placed the data crystal on the table between them. Because humans aren't extinct, Admiral. And the Council's attempt to make them extinct has created a threat that will destroy the galaxy within 2 centuries if we don't act. Keseth's expression didn't change. She picked up the crystal, examining it with the care of someone accustomed to handling dangerous objects. Bold claims. I assume you have evidence. Everything. Communication intercepts. Weapon specifications. Live footage of the threat. And testimony from the humans who've been fighting it alone for 300 years while the council pretended they didn't exist. The Admiral inserted the crystal into her personal datapad. For the next 40 minutes, she reviewed files in silence, her face growing progressively darker. Zarek watched her hands tighten on the datapad when she reached the death toll documentation. Saw her eyes widen at the amalgam footage. Observed the subtle tremor that ran through her when she viewed the Council's internal communications discussing acceptable casualties and necessary population control. Finally, she set the datapad down and drained her whiskey in one long swallow. Genocide, she said flatly. They committed genocide. And they've been covering it up for 3 centuries. Her eyes fixed on Zarek with laser intensity. Who else knows about this? My tactical officer, Boral. The humans at the Prometheus Archive. And now you, Admiral. Station Keeper 7 asked us to bring this to the reformist faction, to leak it through channels the Council can't suppress. But I thought. You thought the military needed to know first. Keseth nodded slowly. Smart. The reformists have passion but no teeth. They can expose the Council's crimes, but they can't do anything about the amalgams. We can. She stood abruptly, moving to a secure communications console. I'm calling an emergency session of the Fleet Council. Every admiral, every senior commander. We're going to show them this evidence, and then we're going to make a decision that should have been made 300 years ago. What decision, Admiral? Keseth's smile was cold and sharp. We're going to offer humanity an alliance. Full partnership. Military cooperation. Technology exchange. And we're going to do it publicly, loudly, in a way the Council can't ignore or suppress. Because if the humans have been fighting these things alone for 3 centuries, imagine what they could do with proper support. She activated the console, her fingers moving with practiced efficiency. The Council wanted to eliminate humanity because they were too innovative, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Well, now we need dangerous. Now we need innovation. And if it means breaking with 10,000 years of Council authority, so be it. Velkera survives through strength, not through blindly following leaders who commit genocide and lie about it. Zarek felt something shift in his chest. Relief. Hope. Terror. The Council will call this mutiny, Admiral. They'll threaten sanctions, blockades, possibly military action. Let them try. Keseth's voice was steel. I've commanded fleets for 150 cycles. I've earned the loyalty of 3 generations of officers. If the Council wants to fight the Velkaran military over this, they'll discover exactly why we're the second largest fleet in the galaxy. She paused, her expression softening slightly. Besides, once the other species see the evidence, once they understand the amalgam threat, the Council will be too busy defending itself to threaten anyone. The truth is a weapon, Commander. And you just handed me the biggest one in galactic history. The secure channel opened, connecting to 18 different command centers across Velkaran space. Admiral faces appeared on holographic displays, some confused, some annoyed at the sudden summons, all snapping to attention when they saw Keseth's expression. Brothers and sisters in service, Keseth began, her voice carrying the weight of authority earned through decades of leadership. What I'm about to show you will challenge everything you believe about the Council, about galactic history, and about our place in the universe. Some of you will want to ignore it. Some will want to suppress it. But all of you will understand, by the end, why we have no choice but to act. She uploaded the data crystal's contents to the shared network. 300 years ago, the Council committed genocide. And they've been lying about it ever since. The humans survived. And they've been fighting alone to save us all from the consequences of the Council's crimes. No more. Today, Velkera chooses a different path. Zarek watched as the evidence flashed across screens, saw the shock and anger spreading across Admiral faces. Some would resist. Some would cling to old loyalties. But enough would see the truth. Enough would understand the necessity of action. Humanity wouldn't be alone anymore. And the galaxy would never be the same. Station Keeper 7 had asked for 6 months. Zarek had a feeling they'd have less. But they'd also have something the humans hadn't possessed for 3 centuries. Hope.